Welcome to the Socotra Modern CoreTech Forum. I am your MC, Irene Paggio, and I actually work at Socotra as a pre-sales consultant, where I help insurers understand the value of our platform so that they can launch better products faster and smarter. We've got a great lineup of speakers for you today, including executives from innovative insurance carriers, founders from InsurTech MGA startups, venture capitalists, and technologists. The focus of today's session is going to be on the incredible innovations happening in the insurance industry. By the end of today's session, we hope that you learn new strategies and understand how to make better technology decisions. To kick us off, it's my honor to introduce Socotra CEO, Dan Woods.
You live here? Oh, what? She gets walk-up music? It's my walk-up music. That was pretty awesome. Thanks, Irene. She'll be back plenty. All right, so I'm really excited to be kicking off ITC. I think these are the first of the sessions starting right now, and all of you decided to start your ITC sessions here with us. Fantastic. I'm so glad you're here. So much has changed over this last year. Just kind of get us level set. Just some of the things that have been happening, some of the trends that we've been seeing. So for example, climate change. According to Reuters, the insured losses from natural catastrophes has gone up 250% in the last 30 years. Embedded insurance, according to Chubb, embedded for property and casualty is going to be 25% of the entire market by 2030, $700 billion. According to IT Novartica, 75% of insurance CIOs plan to expand their use of cloud this year. Cyber, you're seeing a lot of cyber, even though I'm hearing the capacity has been difficult to get. It's looking like the size in 2020, 6 billion, looking to go to 37 billion in 2028. Drones are going to save insurers $7 billion a year. And pet insurance, 7.8 billion in 2022, looking to increase to 38.8 in 2030, according to Future Market Insights. Now for our local news. What's Socotra been up to? I think I just saw Brian Poppy out here somewhere. Mutual of Omaha has been using, and he'll be up here later, they've been using the Socotra for income disability. They went from green screen to MVP in less than 100 days, and they're saving 50% from the legacy platform costs. IAG, Marcus is here. He'll be coming up later. IAG, Insurance Australia Group, don't get confused with that other, AIG. The largest insurer in Australia rolled out Roll-In, which is an innovative product there, and it's targeting the under 40 group. And they have deployed, I literally had to walk up to Marcus a few minutes ago and say, is this really true? They deployed 2,000 feature tweaks and changes in the past 12 months. That's the kind of velocity that they're getting, the kind of agility. Unfortunately, I can't name the one on here for this next one, but let's just say it's a top 3 world insurer that is using us to insure, let me just say, a top 2 ride-sharing provider for income protection. But this is a real problem. In the gig economy, there's a lot of talk of benefits for people who are in the gig economy. And there's a lot of talk of legislation globally. This particular customer is in Europe, but insurance is solving this because through an insurance product that these drivers can get with 4 touches within the app, they can get income protection so that if their car is in the shop, they're still able to get paid just like they would if they're an employee. A fantastic example of insurance solving a problem by itself while the politicians are haggling about how they're going to solve it. Insurance is doing it. That's really cool. Coming around to the MGAs, there are so many. We'll get to that in a moment. But 2 highlight. One is Players Health. CEO Tyree is probably in the house. He's definitely going to be up here later. Please talk with him. They've got a fantastic product for insuring amateur athletics, especially aimed at youth sports, where children can't participate if the venues are worried about lawsuits and so forth. And it's not just about the insurance. They're doing all sorts of things to protect from concussions, when there is an injury, making sure that the child is protected and so forth. Anyway, then Sigo Seguros, which is providing tailored auto insurance for the Hispanic-speaking community in the United States, which is often does not have a lot of the same financial resources available to them, bank accounts and so forth. Those are some of the things that are going on. And speaking of the MGAs, in the last year, frankly, we have been wildly popular with MGAs. In the last year and a half, 27 of them have chosen Socotra. And I'll note, because of what we do, they're using it as a system of record. They're storing their policies in Socotra. It's not just an add-on. Why do all these, and obviously, a lot are still stealth, a lot of announcements still coming, but little descriptions there. Why are they choosing Socotra? They're not choosing us because they love us, although they do. They're choosing a different paradigm. They recognize that the old monolithic approach is something of the past. This doesn't work. They realize what an ecosystem can do. They realize what marketplaces can do. We'll get to that in a moment. And they realize what connectivity can do. A lot of them come from the insurance industry. They've seen these monoliths, but then every one of them has one of these in their pocket, and they see what it looks like to have, I've got dozens of vendors right here. And I can order food, get a ride, check the weather, all these sorts of things, and it all just works. And something's wrong when I've got this in my pocket, and then I've got an IT system that looks so far, worlds apart from that. And that's why they're moving towards, architectures. Sorry for the mic issue there. That's why we're moving more towards microservice architectures. And we are moving towards a rapid connection age in insurance IT, where how well you connect is every bit as important as what you actually do. All the features in the world, it's like having a supercomputer that can't connect to the internet. So how do you combine these things? You need to have components that have three things. They need to be true cloud, they need to be really off the shelf, they need to have public APIs. That's why I can have a phone with all these vendors happily working together, but it's been so hard for insurance because the vendors haven't been providing these things. What's awesome about these three things is you don't have to be the least bit technical to know if you've got them. True cloud, that's when the vendor doesn't have to schedule the upgrades with you. Gmail has never scheduled an upgrade with me. Maybe some of you, maybe they don't talk to me, but they never schedule an upgrade with me. It just happens. Every now and then the browser refreshes. Cool. Most people don't even know that was an upgrade, but it was. It has to be off the shelf. Off the shelf is when the vendor can just, here you go. Here's a license. Try it out. And it's not just some contrived test case. It's literally, here's a license. It has all the power that any one of our customers has to do anything that's described on point number 3, the documentation that's right on the website. Public APIs is more, it's not just a convenience for the engineers. When a company, it doesn't have to be a software company, any company goes on the website and defines what their product actually does, they're going on the record. They're saying, here's where I stand, here's the thing I do. And I'm gonna be the same person with you as I am with you, as I am with you. That's enormously powerful. And leads us towards, small preview, the app marketplace, which is us taking this to the next level for insurance. Although I'll highlight that there's nothing we do here that hasn't been done a million other places, from your smartphone to your Roku to Salesforce's app marketplace and a dozen more. Why are we here? If anyone wants to see 4 hours of demos and seeing our latest whiz-bang things, I'm afraid I have a disappointing news for you. We're here to celebrate the innovation of the industry broadly. We want to bring as many partners as possible on this stage. We want to bring executives from large insurers. We want to bring innovators from some of the newest and most innovative MGA startups. And I look forward to going through this journey with you. To start, I'd like to welcome an old friend to the stage. John Kim, come on up. John Kim He was president of New York Life around the time I first met him, and he went from president of New York Life to founding Brewer Lane Ventures, where he's investing in innovative startups. I believe we were either your first or second investment. First institutional investment. Are you going there with the mic?
I think, perfect.
So John comes from a perspective of, he's seen us for quite a while. We're probably 1/5 the size. We had raised maybe 20% of the capital we had today, or probably not even that when we first met.
Right.
So you were president and chief investment officer at New York Life. And I'm curious to hear, obviously we're talking about IT. I'm curious to hear what your experience was in IT from those positions.
Right.
What was your role, and then what did you see?
Sure. Okay, great. Thanks, Dan. Great to be with all of you and to kick off the Socotra session. So I might answer that by going back a little bit further than my days at New York Life. When I came out of school a very long time ago, I'm looking around the room and more of you are much younger than I am. Back in the 80s, my wife was an electrical engineer at IBM, and so we had the good fortune of being one of the first purchasers of the old IBM XT. Some of you don't even know what an XT is. It had all of 20 megabytes of hard drive storage, and using that, actually doing investing, I would formulate like cash flow and immunization and duration analysis that before then used to be done on the mainframe. So I sort of burnished my reputation out of dumb luck here through my wife to be a bit of a techie as an investment professional. I also, in 2001, around 9/11, led a fintech company called Bondbook. Had it been successful, it was not. It would have been the NASDAQ of the bond market. Just think about that here in the context of capital markets here. So fast forward to my time at New York Life, in and around the time that I was promoted to being the president of the company, leading all the operations, the chairman asked me to lead technology transformation for the company in late 14, early 15. And that basically encompass outsourcing some, core technology functions, application support and maintenance and the like here to TCS at that time. Then we also began the modernization journey, actually, which included, things like creating the initial strategy for the data lake, hiring or buying Salesforce with the velocity overlay, if you're familiar with those capabilities, and hiring Virtusa to do some, API writing and microservices development and the like, and also trying to go on to a more modern platform for our new business and underwriting capabilities here. So. I'd say at a high level, certainly nothing compared to what you all are engaged in. I feel like throughout my career and culminating in my role at New York Life, I probably have been closer, if you will, to technology and have suffered through, a lot of really war wounds here, going through the initial phase of transformation. And today, and I don't know if there are any of my former colleagues from New York Life here, but I think they would agree if they were here that they're still in the early innings, if you will, of the whole transformation initiative. So that's why when I made the first investment here in Socotra, that it was really special to me personally and professionally, but more personally because I had lived through that journey from my days at New York Life.
Okay. I'm wondering, within the organization, how did you see transformation occurring, and what were the blockers? What keeps it? Not just New York Life. You have friends at other places. You see a lot of places, so not there, but around. Yeah. What stops the innovation? What are the blockers?
Like everybody, insurance is, I've been connected to insurance here on the asset management side, on the insurance side, retirement services for close to 40 years. I love insurance company, insurance people, but almost by genetic orientation, if you will, It's a very stodgy, slow-moving, conservative industry. This is why so many of the companies represented in this room go back 100 and 150 years, 170 years, and the like here, because like the Catholic Church and other institutions, in order for you to survive over the long term, you can't move that quickly here. So the whole notion of transformation and innovation and creativity, which seems so natural and native to many of you, especially in the startup world or in the innovation world, it's actually a source of concern and a threat to a lot of great insurance executives here. So I would say up and down. So it's a non-answer to your question, Dan, but it actually depends on the company. If you have senior leadership at top who actually get it and who are on the forefront of that change agency and innovation transformation, it's much easier, obviously. But even with that C-suite leadership, if you don't, a lot of the blockers tend to be in the middling ranks here. Or you could have somebody in the claims area or the, head of operations who are incredibly innovative, but then the C-suite, are blockers as well, too. So I think many ways, the way you move things forward with incumbents is you have to take a multi-pronged approach and tackle all levels within the organization, starting with the C-suite, to the middle management level, and then even the rank and file. The other sort of change agency that's really important from my experience is if you could get distributors, whether they're captive agents or brokers on your side, they're a very powerful cohort, right? So that's an area that tends to germinate more innovation than not.
Are you seeing any change in how it works? I mean, that's been the problem in the past. Do you think is it doomed? What are you seeing today?
I'm incredibly optimistic on behalf of the insurance industry because, even in your opening comments, Dan, you mentioned that, over the last 10 years, really with the, advent of the smartphone here, the iPhone, the original iPhone, there's been such a dramatic shift in consumer expectations and buying behavior. We know that because we're all consumers ourselves here. It took the insurance industry a longer time to think through how they're going to acquire and serve their customers. But I feel like as we sit here today, if you think about the last 10 years of innovation and movement within the insurance industry and then compare it to the next 5, 10 years, I think we're going to have a multiplier effect here, that it will be maybe 5 times greater speed and greater sort of risk-taking, if you will, on behalf of modernization and transformation efforts.
And how does venture play into that?
We hope to make a lot of money. Beyond all the unseemly views on venture capitalists here, the good side of venture capital is that this is the ultimate in risk asset, and so in our fund, Burr Lane, we just finished Fund 1. That's 20 companies that we invested in, Socotra being the first institutional investment. And I couldn't be more prouder of all 20, but I also know that the majority will not survive nor succeed here. They will fail. But if it wasn't for venture-supported startups here, or startups that were supported by venture, meaning it's a closer relationship here, you wouldn't have all the innovation here, whether it's in the insurance industry or the banking industry or consumer tech or prop tech and the like here. So I think venture, especially these days, is absolutely critical to continuing the original thinking, the bold thinking, and the actions that are represented in not only Socotra, but hundreds of other companies represented at this conference.
Great. And that must have been quite a transition from leading an organization like New York Life to a a completely new venture capital firm. What were some of the things, share some insights on that transition. What was things that surprised you, things that might maybe non-obvious, ways you grew?
Little inside baseball, if you can ever be a CEO or a president of a large insurance company, especially a mutual, you should take that here. It's a great job. It's like you don't actually have to do much. You get everything's taken care of. I had a security person who was with me 24/7. And the best part of security people is especially in New York City, they actually have badges here. They're former NYPD police officers, so you can turn left and you can park anywhere you want. Imagine that here. It's a great gig here. So the big change actually for me is when I started Brewer Lane and hired some of my great colleagues who are with me this week here, is that you have to actually do work. You have to buy your own computer and figure out how to use software and make your own plane reservations and fly commercial. It's all good. So it's
I just I've got a venture capitalist here telling me what it's like to actually do work.
It was so cathartic for me actually because it just forced me to actually do some work that I had not done for many years here. So. But the other part is great is even looking around the room here, I don't know nearly a fraction of you all here, but you often don't get to engage with people from industry, from the technology world, from the strategy and innovation world. And so that's a lot of fun actually, much more so than dealing with board members.
Well, on that question I have to ask, you're talking about the size of this, and I didn't even realize till I first met you, and I'd been talking New York Life for quite a while. Joel Brella, who's on your team, I think introduced us originally, and I met him a long time ago. But as I checked, when you were last there, I think their assets were, I think it was 582 billion was the, I'm sure it fluctuated, but that's the number I saw. And idle curiosity, what's it like to manage the GDP of Sweden as chief investment officer?
Well, fortunately for me, I had plenty of time to work up to that number. Said another way, I was thinking that that's a large number, but when I was 33, I actually was responsible for an investment company that had 50 billion of assets here. So. Once you start at a certain level and you start to work up, especially in large companies, you sort of get used to it, if you will. But the other thing I would say is that, I don't know if there are asset managers in this room here, but 582 billion or a billion, they're all the same here because it's a number that personally you just can't fathom. So it's not so much the absolute number that's important, but the relative number. And I think after a billion, it's all about what's the asset allocation, what's your risk posture, what's your concentration risk, and the like here. So I know it sounds really large, and it is indeed large here, but the actual work itself is not that materially different here. What's actually more difficult here, even thinking about that question, Dan, is when you lead large organizations, the assets are one thing, but the people management is very challenging, actually. So, as I was retiring from New York Life, including our captive agents, we had over 20,000 people that I was responsible for, and that's actually a daunting task, actually, much more so than the asset management side itself, because things that you do actually impact the people who work sort of under you and you're responsible for. And that kept me up at night much more so than losing a billion or two here and there.
But a billion here and a billion there, you're talking real money after a while.
Indeed, absolutely. Exactly.
All right, so final question. You're obviously looking at a lot of companies, a lot of technologies. Broadly speaking, what are the trends that have you excited? Current stage occupants excluded.
So what I would say that, and this is really not to promote Socotra, because I think the dollars that we gave you is promotion enough. But when I
there's room for some
yeah.
more.
And don't disappoint, Dan. Okay. I think we're actually at an inflection point here. Again, I could be wrong here, but that we insurance and insurtech innovation in the insurance industry has been going on and for the last 5-10 years, and it's been some big changes here, but I feel like the environment is now almost forcing us, allowing us perhaps here for the incumbents to really think about like how to marshal their collective resources to really change their business model, serve their distributors more optimally, and ultimately serve their customers even better. And it's all about the data. And I know the next panel, you got some great lineup of participants here, leaders really within the industry. But folks like those individuals, I believe, are the real change agents, and the marketplace is, I think, at a real inflection point. One note here, and I know we're probably out of time, is that the current macro environment, from so many perspectives, is like a horrible environment, right? You got a war, you got, the pandemic still will not go away. You've got, the prospects here of, it could happen probably tomorrow, I assume, since the Fed didn't announce here. They're going to raise Fed funds rate by another 75 basis points here. We're marching towards 4-5% on the 10-year Treasury. We could be in a recession. We will likely be in a recession here. The beautiful thing is, it's good for the insurance industry, right? What's the most important thing for the insurance industry other than technology? Interest rates here. It's a hell of a lot better to be investing in a 4% 10-year environment than a 1.5% 10-year environment. And most of our products that we sell as an industry are countercyclical. So if the recession comes here, again, it's countercyclical. So I almost feel like the environment is perfectly suited for technologists, strategists, innovation folks here, especially from the incumbent world, to really think about the way that you can marshal additional resources that the C-suite will be giving you, because the environment, the outlook actually for the industry could be a lot better in 23 when the rest of the world is suffering here. So I will leave it on that positive note. How's that?
All right, John, thank you so much. Round of applause here for John and Irene.